Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to add some fighting words. But before we go any further, I need for you to like this video and please subscribe to my channel. So it's finally here. We waited a very long time for it. I'm talking about George Kambosos versus Teofimo Lopez. So I've been waiting to do a fight breakdown, but it just seemed like there was always something happening with this fight where it took longer and longer to get going. So it seems that it's here now. So let me get right on into it. And this video, I'm just going to be talking about Teofimo Lopez, the pros and the cons in this up and coming bout with George Kambosos. So the first thing that you notice when you look at Teofimo Lopez is he's just a naturally gifted fighter. He's just a very skillful guy and skillful for his age. He fights like somebody who's been in the ring granted, he's been in the ring all his life, but he fights like somebody much older who's been in the ring all his life. This couldn't be any more prevalent than his fight with Lomachenko, somebody who's had like 400 fights or something like that, and yet it didn't seem like he was in there with somebody who didn't have less experience. They seemed to be on the same page. Now, of course, Lomachenko said he only had one arm. That's neither here nor there. But when you look at Teofimo Lopez, you're looking at skill. You're just looking at somebody who is, I'm not going to say like some new age fighter or anything like that, but what I will say is he has a very large amount of knowledge for somebody his age. Very well skilled, very well brought up. Now, let's just talk about his punch selection. Well, let me go through his footwork first. You know me, I love footwork. So when I look at Teofimo Lopez, he doesn't have the best footwork in the world. He's not a Floyd Mayweather, or somebody like that, or Terrence Crawford. He doesn't have the best footwork, but what he does have is perfect foot positioning at all times. Now, what do I mean by perfect foot positioning? It means at any given time he can strike. At any given time he can hit you because he's always planted in a way to where he can attack, whether he's backing up or he's coming forward or he's just shifting. If he sees something, he can strike at it because he's always in perfect positioning with his feet. And he's a very grounded fighter. And what I mean by grounded, I mean he uses a wider stance. So he's very grounded, but his feet are just always in the right place. So at any given time, believe me, he could hit you and he could get you in trouble and quite possibly take you out. That's one of the things that I love about him. And again, that you can, how do you know if somebody spars a lot? Footwork. Footwork will tell you if someone spars a lot. Footwork will tell you who somebody's been in there with, because how they use their footwork, it will tell on them if they've been sparring, and it'll tell on them if they haven't been sparring, but it'll also tell on them who they've been sparring. Because if you've been sparring tomato cans, you don't necessarily need like perfect footwork. You can just go in there and lay those tomato cans out. But if you've been sparring skilled individuals, well, then you know how to move, because you might be sparring somebody bigger than you. You might be smaller, somebody faster than you, and you got to run them down. You might be sparring somebody who's a thinker and who's a master chess player. So you got to figure out how to set the trap or whatever. But you can always tell the level of consistent sparring based upon footwork. Now let's talk about punch selection. Out of the two, I think Teofimo Lopez is the harder puncher. I also think he has a bigger arsenal of punches. I've seen him hit people with body shots. I've seen him hit people with check hooks. And I mean like floored people with these things. And he has really great instincts, which is going to be important in this fight because Kambosos, he's a fast fighter. So it's going to be important for Teofimo to have like just great instincts in there to know when to pull back. When you have somebody who's such a fast fighter and a fast-paced fighter, and they're kind of a machine gun puncher, you need to know, oh, okay, not right now, not right now, not right here, and not right now. But I need to get him in that corner and then do what I want to do. That's how you got to think. And with his punch selection, and he's not a big He doesn't throw a lot of punches. He doesn't. He does not waste punches. He kind of reminds me of like Terrence Crawford in that sense. Floyd Mayweather, Money Mayweather. He reminds me of Money Mayweather. He doesn't waste a whole lot of punches. He's not that busy in around where he's just throwing punches. Everything counts. And that's good for a few reasons. Well, the main reason I'll say is it preserves energy. If you're not just wasting punches, let's just say you have some high punch output where you're throwing like 60, 70 punches around. Okay, well, you still got like 4 or 5 rounds to go. You need to preserve what you got, because you're still getting hit back. So you need to preserve what you got. He doesn't do that. Like when he hits, he thought about it. He thought about where he wants to hit you, and he's going to hit you there. Another thing that's great about him is he's a very accurate puncher. So again, you don't have to throw a million punches around if you are accurate. You do not have to throw a million punches around because you're going to get that point because you're going to hit your target. But also, it's going to be an effective punch. It's not just not going to be some little slap, jab, whatever, where you're just, where it's more or less like you see some of these guys where they're just like, but a lot of that was just to feel to see the distance. But you still threw out like 5 punches. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. So, like I said, it's going to preserve his energy. And where Kambosos is going to need that energy. Because I think Kambosos has a lot of energy like Lomachenko. But Lomachenko, he is the initiator when you fight him, but he's not an aggressive fighter. Kambosos is an aggressive fighter, so he's going to need to preserve that energy. Now, when I look at the physical attributes of both fighters, I think Teofimo might have the edge there. I think he's a stronger guy than Kambosos. Could be wrong, but he just strikes me like when I look at his body frame and how he fills out when he's fully hydrated and he's not exactly in leaned up fighting mode, he seems to be the thicker of the two. So I'm probably going to give him the edge just to say that he's the more physical guy. And that's important because, again, you have a guy like Kambosos who's very aggressive, and you could get tangled up. And if you're going to fight a close fight, you need to let him know, I'm stronger than you. I can put you in the corner. I'm not going in that corner. I'm going to control where we fight. And that's important. As we've seen recently with Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford, it's very important when you can dictate where you want to fight. Hugely important, okay? Like, I can't stress that enough. It's important just to know who's the stronger of the two. Because if I got to be the guy on the back foot and I'm physically weaker than you, it's going to be a long night for me. So to be the stronger guy is very important. One thing that he has where I think that is good is, again, when I talk about his foot positioning, he's always in the right place planted-wise with his feet where he can hit. I think check hooks are going to be huge in this fight. I think hooking off to an angle so he can slide out because, again, you're dealing with an aggressive fighter. I think it's going to be huge. I would probably say my critiques with Teofimo Lopez would be because he's a counter puncher for the most part. He's a counter puncher that will initiate something, but for the most part, he's a counter puncher. Now, what I see could be an issue fighting somebody like Kambosos is he has this thing where he'll be planted for too long. You don't want to just sit there for too long. And most counter punchers and most guys who are, I don't think Teofimo Lopez is extremely fast, but I think he has great timing. So if you have great timing, you don't necessarily need to have speed. You don't have to be like a super fast guy if you have great timing. But I think he plants himself sometimes too long in one spot. And if you look at the Lomachenko fight, where he was having a lot of difficulty, I think it's because he simply didn't move his feet. He simply didn't move out of position. Or if he gets let's just say he hits you with something, he has some success with it, he'll kind of sit there and stay in that spot, as opposed to, you stick, you move, you come out. He'll kind of be like, well, I'm good here. I'm good here. He didn't really retaliate, or he didn't really do much. I'm going to stay here. That could work. Kambosos, probably not so much. Again, a lot of the things when we reference the Lomachenko fight, you have to keep in mind Lomachenko had one arm. So a lot of that stuff that happened, we can now make the argument that probably would not have happened, say he had two 100% working arms. We don't know. There's already been talks of a rematch. Hopefully we can get that. But we don't know because, honestly, he had one arm. So we really don't know. So that's one of my critiques. Him just, he sits in one spot for entirely too long. Like, he does that a lot. And then he'll crouch low. That's another thing. With the smaller guys, that 130, 135, honestly, those dudes are fast. To be sitting crouched all low and, I don't think it's the best thing in the world. He does have his hands low a lot. Again, but when you have timing, you can kind of get away with that. However, Kambosos is not slow. And whatever Kambosos throws, he's fully 150% committed to that punch. So I don't like that he plants himself for too long. I don't like that he fights as low as he does, because he does tend to get like a little low. And the other thing I would say I don't think that Teofimo has the best defense. I don't think he has the best defense in the world. Some people, they can get hit, like you can get hit in the jaw or whatever, and they can eat it. Some people, they get hit in the body, it hurts them. Perfect example of this, Keith Thurman. He does not like to get hit in the body. You can punch Keith Thurman in the face, he'll eat it. You punch Keith Thurman in the body, and he'll get on his bicycle. He does not like it at all. Like, dude would just get on his bicycle and go. That's just how he is, And some people are like that. Some people can, they can take a punch here, but they can't take a punch here. Or vice versa, And Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko does not have a lot of punch power. For the most part, when Lomachenko hurts people, it's because they never saw it coming, or he just set them up, or, they were in pursuit, and he just caught them with something. And it's like that kind of thing where you just kind of get, you're running into something, and he catches you at the same time. So it's kind of like that. And if Lomachenko can hurt you to the body, I'm assuming George Kambosos can really hurt you to the body. So his defense is not, he's much stronger offensively, much stronger. His defense, I think that's where he needs to work on. I've always felt that's where he needs to work on. Sometimes when you're so skilled and you have such great timing and you can get out of danger, you don't feel the need to work on certain things. I think, one of the issues that Roy Jones had throughout his career was he was so freaking fast that he didn't have to shell up a lot of times. He could just get out of there in a blink of an eye. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying Teofimo Lopez is Roy Jones. But he shows the same thing where his legs will get him out of trouble because he does have a spring in his legs where he can just pop in, pop out. But I don't feel like his defense is up to par. And I feel like that's the reason why Lomachenko can kind of just muscle him around. And when you've seen it in the latter rounds, kind of muscled him around. And Kambosos, I don't think he can make those mistakes. But for the most part, I think he's an extremely talented fighter that's only going to get better over time. I would like to see him more active, a lot less of this and a lot more of this. But hopefully after this fight, we can really get something going because supposedly there's going to be the rematch of Lomachenko, and him and Devin Haney have been going back and forth like it's going out of style. Maybe we can get something going. I would love to see something get moving, and we got Shakur Stevenson, and I'm going to keep saying his name because if you ask me, he's a dark horse of the division. But I'm not talking about him right now. We're talking about Teofimo Lopez. And that is my breakdown. You know the routine. I want you to please like this video. Please drop some comments and please subscribe.